Hello and welcome to the Maple Grove City Report. I'm Dave Kaiser from CCX Media along with Heidi Nelson, Maple Grove City Manager. Welcome to 2022. How are you today?
I'm well. How are you doing?
Very good. We have a first meeting to talk about from 2022. It was on January 3rd, a meeting that has a lot of formality to it, as you might expect, about 1 hour long. Let's begin with some of that formality. The colors posted by some very special guests.
Yeah, so it's always nice. We have a Cub Scout troop in to present the colors on the evening of our first meeting of the year. And this year it was Maple Grove Boy Scout Troop 584, and they did a really nice job presenting the colors and then doing the Pledge of Allegiance with the council.
And then also a special guest to give the invocation for the year. Tell us about that guest.
Yeah, so we rotate this through the community and try to bring in a good representation of our faith community over the years here. So this year we had Chief Priest Batar from the Hindu Society of Minnesota, the Hindu temple, and provided a really nice opening message for our first meeting of the year here. If you'd like to go on the recording of the meeting on our website, you can take a listen to that. It was a very nice message.
And then following that up, a very nice point of the beginning of each year is a look back at the last year, a little State of the City report from the mayor and the council.
Yeah.
I know a lot was said. It was about 15 minutes, but give us a little brief recap.
Yeah, so a lot of discussion about some of the big projects that have happened in the past year, expansion of our med tech industry with Upshur Smith, Boston Scientific, the Arbor Lakes Business Park, and then continued growth in housing. So a lot of really positive growth both on the industry side as well as our housing side. A lot of nice comments about staff and the services they provide to the community and kind of that timely response to concerns by our residents. And then just talking about how our residents have supported each other during this time, kind of continued time of the pandemic, and that's really been a high point in our community. So a lot of really nice comments there. We are planning on hopefully some sort of a State of the City event like we had done pre-pandemic. We had started doing kind of our individual State of the City event in the late winter, early spring, and so we're still looking towards that. And we know the I-94 West Chamber of Commerce State of the City event is coming up towards the end of January as well.
So a chance to see what happened in the past year, and again, you can go to that video on the city's website to see that full presentation. Now to consent, and this has to be the longest consent of the year. There was one item pulled, but tell us why this is so long at the beginning of the year. Yeah,
so we take care of a lot of our organizational business at that first meeting of the year. So, and really not much change this year. So examples of, appointments to the various organizations and positions, dealing with our city attorney appointments, city council liaisons, our council secretary that does the minutes, those kinds of things, official newspaper. So you'll see on this agenda a lot of kind of our routine organizational business. So, and then we had our liquor license violations come back for those resolutions dealing with the penalties. So this would stack up to be a very long consent agenda.
And one item, as I mentioned, pulled from that, and it relates to an item we've talked about many times in recent weeks. Tell us a little bit about the background here. And this was also a resident with one of the blue cards saying they'd like to speak about it. Yeah,
so this was one of our pond dredging projects that was on the agenda. We actually had 3 on the agenda Monday night. And so this is a little bit, it's related to our new stormwater fee, is needing to get out and be more proactive about getting these ponds dredged and looking at that stormwater infrastructure. So this is an example of that. This is what we're doing here. Is we had 3 projects that'll go on, and those pond dredging projects will move forward here during the winter months. But resident that came in from the Woodland Ponds neighborhood, just north of Weaver off of Forest View there's a number of ponds in there. One of the larger ponds in that area will be dredged and cleaned, and they just expressed some concerns about how restoration will happen there, and of course we provide for that in those contracts and how access would be gained. So some questions from the resident, but I think a timely issue is that we're adding this stormwater fee here in 2022, and it's really reflective of where we're at in our growth and development. A lot of these ponds are now 30 years old and in need of that dredging to maintain their the space in those ponds to hold water after storm events, those kinds of things. And then also making sure that those pipes going in and out of those ponds are still in good shape. So a lot of these types of projects to come here as we put this new funding source in place.
Very good. Now on to the special business, the 2022 legislative agenda and authorization for legislative services. Tell us what the thoughts were here.
Yeah, so this update to our legislative agenda, looking forward to the session here that will start at the end of January. Kind of one area of focus this year for our legislative platform is pursuing state bonding for the community center project. So if you recall, we had both the House and Senate bonding committees out to the community center this last fall on the bonding tour to take a look at the facility. We've prepared all the information and submitted that to the MMB office at the state budget and management office, and that's part of the process to be in the formal bonding process for the legislative session. So 2022 is a traditional bonding year, so we're hopeful there'll be a bonding bill, and so that's going to be an area that we focus on this year, is hopefully getting some of those bonding dollars in place for this project. In addition, we're going to be making sure we're taking full advantage of this new transportation funding that's come to the state through the federal infrastructure program. And so we're going to be looking at that. And then we also have just a number of supporting statements that we work with on various organizations, issues that are important to the city. And then we're continuing our relationship with Ann Lincheski at Lockridge Grindle-Nowen for those legislative services. And so information on the website available about our legislative agenda as well.
A rare case here, no items under community and economic development being the beginning of the year, but they did have a report to talk about some of the things coming up. What's up on their agenda? Yeah,
so we'll have Planning Commission on the 10th of January. We're going to be dealing with a residential variance and then the addition of a business called Pet Suites. This is up off of Upland Lane, just kind of north of the Bell Tower building, south of the gas station. There's kind of a parcel in between there that was actually remnant right-of-way that the city held and really didn't have a lot of purpose for it. It kind of looks like a swale today. But that parcel will be developed into a Pet Suites. Arbor Committee coming up on January 13th, and we did have a new member appointed that evening on our consent agenda. And then the January 31st Planning Commission meeting is stacking up to be a pretty large agenda. We have an apartment project up north of the TRICARE area, kind of up behind Menards in that area. We are going to be looking at a redevelopment plan for the AMC site, the theater site, as well as phase 3 of the Arbor Lakes Business Park. So a lot of big projects coming forward for January 31st.
And one other open house event mentioned, this is the Cub Wine and Spirits. You see a lot of building happening out in front of the store. What is coming up in February? Yeah,
so they're planning for their ribbon cutting on February 9th in the afternoon, and so that construction's coming along, and they'll be open for business then.
Let's move ahead to Engineering Public Works. One main item here, talking about the Main Street Rehab project. Give us a little background and tell us what was discussed at the meeting.
Yeah, so we are in the process of finalizing our plans for this Main Street reconstruction project, and wanted to just visit with the council one more time, kind of show them some of the details of those design and some of the streetscape elements. We'd had some questions about that and wanting to make sure everybody understood the plans and what we were doing and on board with that. So one more time to review those plans, and then now with this, those will go out for bid. We anticipate this project will get started right after Maple Grove Days in mid-July.
Next up then for Engineering and Public Works, we'll be looking at street reconstruction and development. So they'll have a busy plate in 2022, I would guess.
Engineering is going to have a full plate this coming year. We've had just so many development projects approved, so improvements need to be constructed for those. And then our normal street maintenance projects, in addition to these new pond dredging projects.
So they'll be busy. Administrative update from the meeting on the 3rd. You had a couple items to mention. The next council meeting, a date change.
Yeah, so January 18th, due to the Martin Luther King Jr. holiday on the 17th. And we will have a work session that evening in advance of the council meeting. We're going to be circling back with the council and park board on the community center project planning, as well as our communications plan with regard to the local option sales tax question that'll be on the November 22 ballot. Then we also will have the Historical Society in to come in and talk about the report that was recently completed by the CAC with regard to historical societies kind of around the metro area and in the state of Minnesota.
Very good. We'll recap that work session the next time we are are together. You also mentioned the Emergency Temporary Standard Policy.
Yeah.
What is that, and why is the city having to look at that?
Yeah, so this is the federal order with regard to the requirement for vaccinations for COVID-19. We are a large employer of over 100 employees, and so we're subject to this primarily through Minnesota OSHA now. That plan comes down to be administered by Minnesota OSHA. So we're in the process of preparing our policy. Our policy would, it's still in draft form, but what I shared with the council is the direction we're heading is that it would allow for to attest your vaccination or for testing. So we'll have a system in place and a platform for employees to do testing, weekly testing, and then that gets reported back to us in our system. So every organization, every city, I just had an email from a number of colleagues this afternoon that are, asking questions about how we're try to share information about how everybody's approaching this, but pretty much every employer over, with over 100 employees is in the process for preparing for this requirement. We do know there's a Supreme Court hearing coming up later this week, so there could be an additional delay to this if the order stayed, but we are kind of continuing to move that work forward as the court process plays out once more.
And to close out the meeting on the 3rd, another nice note. We had those nice notes at the beginning, the annual event, but we had a nice note at the end, and a big thank you from the Lions. Tell us about the special guests that stopped by.
Yeah, so this was a representative from the Lions Club came by just to acknowledge the contribution the city made to kind of the concert on the lawn that took place last year, and then kind of in support of the upcoming year. And this was done with charitable gambling funds. It was kind of in the context of COVID and the impacts of COVID, and so we had dealt with a number of nonprofits in providing contributions there, but nice acknowledgement from the Lions Club for that contribution.
That is your wrap-up of the meeting on the 3rd, and again, the next meeting is on the 18th because of the holiday, and as we touch on some other items happening in the city, speaking of that holiday, offices, I take it, will be closed.
Yeah, offices will be closed on Monday, January 17th in observance of the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. holiday.
All right, you see the snow flying outside, and you might not be thinking about taking photos, but Carol Morris from the city wants you to take photos.
Yeah.
This is all about the photo contest, and really a neat time of the year to get some photos.
Yeah, so we always encourage people to get out and do winter photos. Again, we use these in all of our publications, our website, newsletters, those kinds of things. So the photo contest will open June 1, but hoping to get some of those winter photos submitted that we're taking over the next few months.
Speaking of snow, okay, you take your pictures, but then the next thing to do is go home and do a little shoveling, and this comes at the request of the fire department.
Yep.
What help are they looking for?
Yes, so we're always looking for neighborhoods to kind of adopt their hydrant and make sure that they're getting out there to keep that shoveled and cleared of snow. When the department shows up in the night when there's a fire, if that hydrant is easy to locate and easy to access, gets us access to water a lot quicker, and minutes can be really important. And we do, we have significant house structure fires every now and then. We had a lot of them you've seen, not necessarily here in Maple Grove, but around the metro area during the holidays, that those things happen. And so if we can get your help in keeping those hydrants clear, we really appreciate it. And then just a reminder that residents are required to remove snow from their sidewalks in front of their home.
All right, so easy for the police and fire to get up to your door if they need to get up in some situation. Vehicle thefts, let's talk a little bit about that growing problem and how the city is addressing that.
Yeah, so this continues to be a concern, throughout the metro area. Really, you've seen a lot of media coverage about that, and some, concern with how things are being dealt with both at the county attorney's office and then in the courts with folks that are stealing vehicles. And I think our concern is that, it starts with vehicle theft, and then we've seen the growth in carjackings, those kinds of things. So we just really encourage people to keep their vehicles locked up. I mean, right now with the weather the way it is, a lot of temptation to start that vehicle and keep it running and maybe leave the keys in and unlocked. Really encourage people not to do that. And then, don't leave valuables in your car, cars open, that kind of a thing. We're past the holiday season now, so those college kids have probably gone back to school, and so maybe you have less cars in your driveway, so keeping those cars in the garage and making sure everything's locked up. We are doing some work with law enforcement and at the council level with the mayor, trying to, do some outreach with the county attorney's office to let them know that we're having some problems out here and we need to get a handle on these things. So more to come on that work with the county attorney's office.
As we turn into 2022, something new on the horizon here that we've talked about again quite a bit. This is organics recycling. What are some reminders for residents on this topic?
Yeah, so as of January 1, this new requirement from Hennepin County went into place that we're required to offer, or all residents are need to be able to access an organics recycling program. And so the approach we took was to require that all of our refuse haulers provide an option for organic cycling for our residents. So hopefully your hauler has provided that information to you about how that can be done. Some of them use the blue bag program, where that kind of gets commingled with your regular garbage, and some have a separate container for that. But those options should be available to you now through your hauler. Okay. And of course, then we also always have the Hennepin County drop-off facility in Brooklyn Park, and they do sell compost bins there as well.
All right, a couple park and rec items to touch on here if you're looking for fun in 2022. First is registration time is already here. Tell us what people can sign up for.
Yeah, the Park and Rec activity guide is out there, and I noticed the other day it has one of our photo contest winners on the cover.
Nice.
This little boy is so cute. It's one of my favorite Park and Rec activity guides I've seen recently. So registration is underway for the winter programs, and lots of classes and programs available for all ages, and that activity guide is also available on our website.
Another item from Park and Rec is the community center gym. Some changes here related to registrations.
Yeah, so reservations are now required for the gym, and we have some capacity limits there as well. So information about how you can reserve space in the gym is available on our city website on the Park and Recreation page, and then reservations can only be made online for that.
All right, that website again, maplegrovemn.gov. We'll give you that again at the end of the program. Mark down Saturday, February 5th on your calendar for Wonders of Winter. What is this event?
Yeah, so this is a great event that kind of grew out of when the Super Bowl was in Minnesota. We held this event that day over at Central Park to get people out enjoying Minnesota. So Saturday, February 5th from 1 to 4 at Central Park. Guests will enjoy free outdoor activities like snowshoeing, large kite displays, s'mores. We always have lots of bonfires over there. Skating loop is open. It's kind of a magical day at Central Park. So Saturday, February 5th from 1 to 4.
Let's talk plastics for just a moment here. And if you're up for a challenge, the county is ready to challenge you in the month of February. How do we participate?
Yeah, so Hennepin County has a plastic-free challenge. It's a way to adopt new habits to lower your impact to the environment. Registration is open for online challenge, starts February 1, and it runs for the whole month of February. The program has more than 70 actions you can choose in 7 different categories of ways that you can reduce your use of plastic and then improve ways to recycle that plastic. So Hennepin Plastic Free. Ooh, it's kind of a long website here.
It is.
I think we have some information on our website, but hennepinplasticfree.ecochallenge.org. But I think if you just Googled Hennepin Plastic Free, you'd probably find that information there.
That's the place to find it. Here's another website for you, maplegrovetransit.org. Information there about transit in the city and also specifically about MyRide. What is that and how can people use it?
Yeah, so this is an area of our transit services that has really strengthened during the pandemic. You know, we've had a lot of impact to our commuter services that remains, but we've really seen an increase in the need for this kind of hyper-local transit here with our MyRide service. And as you know, we went through some changes to make that a little bit more user-friendly. So you can book it on an app, you can pay for it on an app, and it's a little bit more Uber style, available, you know, same day or within the next hour or within the next 15 minutes. And so we've really seen a lot of increase in demand for this, or interest in using this MyRide service. We've expanded the geographic area that we serve as well. So if folks are in need of a transportation method, we really encourage them to check out MyRide. You do require a reservation. Trips are scheduled on a first-come, first-served basis. We do encourage riders to use the phone app or the web portal, as both of them, to make the reservations any time of day. We do still allow, you know, have people can call into the call center, but the online version certainly is pretty easy to do. And that's available at maplegrovetransit.org. All the information's available there.
All right, and you can link to that through the city's website as well. Let's leave you with that information, the website, along with that next next meeting again coming up on the 18th because of the holiday. Website is maplegrovemn.gov. Lots of information there about some of the things happening in the city and also some of the information we talked about from the meeting, which was a very nice meeting again on January 3rd. Next meeting again on the 18th. City's phone number at the bottom of the screen if you're interested in calling. For Heidi Nelson, I'm Dave Kaiser. Thanks for joining us on the Maple Grove City Report.